and you have to be passionate to make it through that. So that's a given. But more than that, you have to build a complementary team. You have to get people who have the other skills that you don't have. And I know when I started out in business, I was looking for people like me, people I liked hanging out with. That I needed to find more people that weren't like me. I needed to find people who knew how to run the trains on time. I've got big ideas, but you have to execute. I had to find people who knew how to keep the books and keep the payroll and get the rent and all that. So I needed to find other talent, and I needed to find people who were glue between people who didn't work well together. I needed to make people work well together. I had to learn those talents myself, but I had to get those talents into the company first. So surrounding yourself with complementary skills is very, very important. I would say the biggest thing, if you want to make a business, though, really that has a world-changing impact, you have to do something that other people aren't doing. Like you're hearing that from every idea you're hearing from today. We're all doing things that are a little bit contrary to the way other people are doing things.
Yes.
And so you have to be contrary but right. Like it's very easy to do something the same as everybody else, and you could be okay, but it's not gonna. You have a lot of competition because everybody's doing the same thing. You can be contrary and wrong. That's very easy, but you need to be contrary and right. So I think that a very important part of making a successful business, and I always love looking for this in everything I'm working on, is what's my angle? What is the new thing that I know that's different than what other people know, that they don't believe yet, but will be true? And I'm going to go make it true. Like I have something that I figured out before most people have figured it out. And so looking for that essence in your business is very valuable and I think important to make something impactful. It's not easy. That's a very high bar. Like you don't come across those every single day.
Yes.
But taking your idea and looking at it over and over from different angles and figuring out what's my twist, where everybody else is going this way, how can I go a little bit this way where they're not going yet, but that's still correct. I'm not doing it just to go different. To just be different from everybody else, that doesn't count. Yeah. But it's got to be different and better for a reason, and understanding that reason and then doubling down on that. So I think that's very valuable to make a business work, and I try and look for that all the time.
That's beautiful. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is the one you started with, which is they surround themselves with people who think the same way because it's encouraging, but you need all those different hats on your team in order to get the job done. And also your point, I actually teach this to business owners. It's like, if you do what everybody else does in your industry and you do it significantly better than everybody else, you get a micro improvement.
Right, exactly.
But if you do something that no one else is doing in your industry and it works, or it has an advantage that's coming, you get a geometric advantage over everybody else, and you become the brand in that industry. And you've done that over and over and over again through many industries. When we come back and we're talking just with you, by the way, I want to prepare you. I want you to share the story of Google and AdWorks, because people have no clue that you're the one that really got that ball started. And it's an interesting story. So I'm going to call on you for that later. Just plant the seed in your head, if I may, Bill. Mikhail, let me ask you, let me pop over there, because you come from a different culture initially in Russia and so forth. Tell us, what do you think is the difference between those people that dream about things versus those who actually realize it? What are the components that make the difference between those that dream and those that perform?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. We all see in our career experience people with a bright, smart, who has like the different combination of the qualities, but sometimes it's difficult for them to become entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship, it's different than even leadership. I think like entrepreneurs usually have inside themselves like several persons, like a little bit schizophrenics. We're all a little bit schizophrenics, because from one hand, we should be in order to move forward, because there are value of moving forward and making mistakes rather than sometimes thinking, because you are learning from mistakes, and you will have a lot of failures. You will have a lot of setbacks. So you need to be stubborn, insensitive, thick-skinned person. Otherwise, this like a constant failures, just they will destroy you as a person. But from another hand, you need to be sensitive and tender to people, to new ideas, to like everything what's happening around, like market, people, and to be one person with this like two sometimes very discrepant, contradictory quotes, it's pretty rare. I mean, and this is probably the reason why it's not so many people actually can be entrepreneurs. For many, it's really hard. It's psychologically hard. It's a very painful.
So the first is the capacity to push through those failures and learn from those failures, but also not to get stuck with one approach. Because I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, they get stuck with one thing. They believe it's the right thing and they don't stay open to new ideas. It's my idea or the highway. And I know, Bill, I see you nodding your head. We both have seen so many companies where they had brilliant ideas. And if they just, it wasn't enough just to persist. It was the capacity to test and retest and be willing to fail and call failure learning, which is what it is. It's failure when you don't learn anything, right? But if you learn something, you move forward. But that combination, Mikhail, I know you've done. It's the only reason you've succeeded at the level you have, because you've constantly made those corrections to get where you want to go, to find these tools that can literally change the way we travel through space. Jason, how about for yourself? You know, you've looked at things from the medical perspective. You're looking at now from an environmental perspective, a human perspective. What do you think makes that difference? Because you've seen so many businesses also with great ideas, great entrepreneurs, lots of persistence, a lot of passion, and then they just never deliver. What's the difference between the one that delivers no matter what, finds the way, and those that don't?
I think there's a couple things in what Bill and Mikhail have shared, and I want to use Dakin as an example again and continue to pick on him. I do think that a compelling vision is where it all starts. And if you look at across the portfolio for Dakin, for example, this is very clear picture of what the world can, should, and will look like. And I think for every entrepreneur, every great entrepreneur holds this vision of what the world can, should, and will look like. And then there's this, I think in great entrepreneurs, willingness to say, but why? Why should it be this way? Why isn't it this way? Like this, you can call it, there's a great book, Start With Why. There's first principles thinking, but I think great entrepreneurs try to understand why it is, why it can be, why it should be, why it will be. And then there's this matter of vulnerability. I mean, you Tony, talk about, not just that everybody needs a compelling future, but also, you talk about rip it open. And I think entrepreneurs who are really there to play are there to say, I'm here to do this. It's not about me. It's about this. And it's about learning every day, and it's about being wrong, and it's about supporting others and not being the star of the show. And you have to be willing to a certain degree, like be willing to lose yourself to become something better. And not to lose yourself to become less, to become something worse, but willingness to say, like, I think I'm great, and I think I'm so incomplete.
Yes.